So when we've talked before, you had mentioned that some of the basics that we just expect here, like soap and water, is not necessarily something to take for granted.
It's not. When you, in a hospital setting in Homa Bay, there was a regional hospital. Running water is an issue. So we're talking basic running water in a hospital. And if the regional hospital doesn't have running water, you can bet the rural health centers don't have running water, or a consistent supply of soap, or the ability for a healthcare professional to always be able to wash their hands, or for the opportunity for that healthcare professional to become in the habit of washing their hands all the time. Something for us is, we sneeze, we go wash our hands. Especially if you're in the medical field, we know that one of the #1 steps to prevention of any cold or virus is universal precautions. Washing your hands. And you don't get to always do that. You don't always get to do that.
How did you accustom yourself to those kinds of realities of living in an entirely different world where things that we take for granted here just aren't? You
don't ever become fully accustomed to it, but you do accept it. You do realize there's what I can do. And this was an issue that a lot of times the healthcare professionals who would arrive struggle with. But I want running water. You don't get running water because there's no running water there. You have to figure out a way to manage without it. How do you teach your staff to bring in water, bring in special hand sanitizers, what else can we do? You become a problem solver. And you don't get to, a patient comes in and you don't always get to run an x-ray. That's not always your first choice because there's not that capability. Or the power's out and you can't run an x-ray anyways. There's no power to run the x-ray. So how do you do that? And it's a struggle. It's hard because you can see coming from a first world environment, going into a third world environment, how simple it could be to fix it.
And why doesn't it get fixed?
And why doesn't it get fixed? Sustainability. How do you keep the power going long enough to run an x-ray machine? Or where do you drill a well to keep the water clean? How do you keep... So someone was telling a story about just basic water, the need of having a clean water source and how that impacts mothers who are pregnant and keeping them healthy. And okay, you build a water well. But now how do you teach the villagers who use the water well that it's not okay to use the rope that they dip the bucket into the water? You can't drag it along the ground on the way to the water well because it's going through cow dung, goat turds. And now it's getting into the water source and contaminating the water source that you've just dug a hole for. It's that level of basic. How do you keep the water source clean? And it's not impossible, but it's the sustainability of all of this, right? So why doesn't it work? I don't know. There are people out there far smarter than I am trying to figure out how to make it work so malaria isn't the #1 killer in Africa anymore. It's, distributing mosquito nets for children. It seems so simple, but it's not. It's not. I don't know why. I don't know.